Well, I'm reading right here, there are people at risk, asthma, et cetera. Here's the counties in North Carolina to date, as of yesterday, that have a case or more. Not around us, Surrey, Stokes, Rockingham, Yadkin, Wilkes, none have a case. And Forsyth does, but Forsyth is a pretty big sized county and a different type of folks from us. The CDC information, which Brandon referenced in what he sent out,
Hey, Tim, we're on live right here recording. I'll go ahead and get it started there.
said the symptoms are, quote, mild.
Call to order the emergency meeting of the Board of County Commissioners Wednesday, March 25th, 2020 at 6 o'clock. As always, we'll start with an invocation. I'll ask the Vice Chairman Mendenhall if he would lead us.
Join me if you would. Almighty, gracious Heavenly Father, as we come to you this day, we come to you with humble hearts. Father, we ask you today for your guidance and leadership. Father, as we go through these times that we are enduring at this point, as we endure this coronavirus pandemic, we know that these are some times that we have never confronted before. We're seeing things that we have never seen before. But we know if we come to you and ask for your guidance and leadership and direction, you will lead us in the right way. Yes. Father, we ask that you be the leader of this meeting. You guide, lead, and direct each of our commissioners. And now, Lord, we just say to you, thank you for all things. We've had no cases in Stokes County as of this time, and that is a blessing in itself. All of these things we ask in thy precious name. Amen.
Amen. Please continue standing for our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2, a resolution authorizing electronic meetings during the state of emergency. I got some feedback on one of these mics right here.
Maybe push it up a little bit or something. Might help.
Try it right there and see how it goes. All right, the resolution of authorizing the Stokes County Board of Commissioners to conduct meetings electronically during a state of emergency. Whereas the Stokes County Board of Commissioners recognize the importance of public participation in their meetings, and whereas the board agrees that the safety and health of its citizens, employees, and board members of its utmost concern, and whereas the board recognizes the importance of being able to conduct county business during an emergency situation, and whereas the board agrees during some types of emergencies it may be need to restrict public access for everyone's protection. Therefore, be it resolved that during a declared state of emergency in Stokes County, the Stokes County Board of Commissioners may meet electronically with one or more of its members, including all of its members, participating in the meeting by electronic means while continuing to live stream and archive the open portion of the meeting for public viewing. Here we adopted this by the Stokes County Board of Commissioners on the 25th day of March 2020. Do I have any comments or questions on this? Commissioner Walker?
I saw you look over in my direction. Thank you, sir. If someone else wanted to go first, feels like they have something right on the tip of their tongue, you're welcome to. I can wait, but I do have a thought or two or a question or two.
Go ahead, sir.
First question is, when would this actually be invoked, and what would be the trigger?
I would say this will go in place today if voted on.
It would be voted on now, and then it would enable you to, anytime you have a state of emergency and you need to have a meeting electronically, you'd be able to do so because you would have adopted a resolution. You never had one of those in the past, and Ty wanted for something like this to be in place in order for you to be able to conduct meetings electronically during a state of emergency.
Yeah, I can see the benefit of, let's say, one of our commissioners, me, whoever, feels a need to maybe not attend the meeting. But I want to attend all the meetings in person that I possibly can, and particularly at this time. I want to try to reassure the public to whatever extent that is possible to do so, that we can still have some normalcy to our lives. People are running scared more than any time I've ever seen in my, however many years I've been on this earth, in some ways at least. One lady that I saw earlier this week, and she interacts with the public all day long. She's a front desk person at a medical provider's office. And she summed it up this way. She said, I'd just like to have my life back. I feel like my life is being taken away from me. I can't do the things I'm used to doing. I'm in fear, and I'm hearing things on the other side, like 0 cases in our county. At that time, 0 deaths in our state is mild. The symptoms are mild. She said, I don't know all that's going on, but I do know this. And I'm kind of summing up or telling the gist of what she said. She said, I'd like to have my life back. So my preference regarding the resolution is that, yes, it can be in place, but I don't know what triggers the circumstances that we would actually have to have meetings that we couldn't allow the public to be here.
When you have an order in place with 10 or less people, and most counties are not allowing public to meetings right now because for their safety.
Yeah, I was reading something about Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, some of the steps that they're taking. But because I a lot of times go by what other counties are doing, and if counties having a large number of cases, let's pick one of the biggies, Wake County, I think, has been mentioned in our state as a county that's having a lot of cases. I can see them taking measures that we don't have to take. I'm not going to let this thing just drive me into a corner and keep me there. I will come to every meeting, my health allowing, and I don't want to jeopardize my fellow commissioners by coming with a fever or something. So if I had to go into self-isolation, self-quarantine or whatever, because I rarely run a fever, but maybe I did, I would err in the direction of safety. I would prefer to be able to do it remotely. But I want to see us start taking steps that reassures the public that some common sense and reasonableness is coming back into play, and that we're not just having more and more and more taken away from us. Something as little as how we're going to do our meetings. And you know, this information I just passed out says again, the CDC's recommendation, I know our limit's at 10, but as current as what Brandon, our Director of Emergency Services, said yesterday, CDC is still recommending 50. They're going to stop testing, I see. And here, if I may read just a little statement, that one of the CDC's recommendations, CDC now recommends if you have mild symptoms, stay at home and call your doctor to see if you need to be seen at the office or in another setting. The vast majority of people who they've changed it to COVID-19, will have mild illness and will recover at home. Most people will not need a test. Testing will not change what you or your doctor will do. Yeah? And if a person's sick, they should stay at home. But why punish or jeopardize or inconvenience the people that are not sick?
Well, the biggest thing is, all these people don't know they've got it until after 2 or 3 days of having it, and then by that time, how many people you done spread it to? So, but the biggest thing, like what we're talking right here for the resolution for the commissioners, this is mainly just for us right here. Like you said, when I was feeling unwell, and still be able to attend that meeting. That's what I say right now. You don't know when we'll have to put the next emergency meeting. I hope we ain't got to have no more. I hope we'll get resolved and start moving on from there.
Me too. I had been home 10 minutes when I got the message. Looked at both phones. I couldn't find one, but our phones are not perfect. if it's going to be used the way you're describing, Mr. Chairman, just as kind of a last resort type step in dealing with this thing, I can see that. I can go along with it. But if we just shut down our meetings, no, I don't want to keep adding fuel to this. Let me put it this way. I've been going around and talking to people ever since this thing manifested itself, ever since coronavirus COVID-19 came on the scene. The ratio I'm finding is for every person, it's 1 out of 5 who thinks all these steps are necessary. 1 out of 5 are the people I'm talking with. Now, I see different expressions on people's face and heads shaking. Y'all may be talking to other people. You may know something different. I'm just telling you personally, first person, what I've found as I go around and talk to people. They think it's an overreaction. They think that too much of their life has been taken away already trying to deal with this. Too big a deal is being made out of it. They're according to...
That's on the COVID-19, but as far as like the resolution, do you have any more on this one right here?
In what way, sir?
Like, do you have any more comments on this right here, like yay or nay for it?
I thought this was, the COVID-19 is what triggered this.
Well, any kind of state of emergency, basically what this right here is putting in place.
And if it says you described, gives us the provision, it's what we need for a commissioner to be able to join in our meeting remotely, I can see some advantage to that.
It actually could even work good for you today where we couldn't get in touch with you. If it's last minute and we finally got in touch with you, then yeah, you could join in at home.
Right.
Which
Which would have been much easier
Right.
than getting home and turning around and driving right back to Danbury.
Right.
But if it's going to be used to just switch from our regular way of meetings to televised or live stream meetings, I'm not ready to go that far.
And it's not for that. It's mainly for like the situation we was talking about. If somebody's not feeling well, or if you got a little bit of a fear coming out in public, or anything like that, or last minute get in touch with you, I'd say majority of us, if we feel like up and do it, we'll still be here at these meetings.
Right.
And that's mainly what it's for.
Okay, and as long as we have some assurance that this would not be, and I don't think it will, and I'm not thinking of anyone in particular when I'm saying this, please don't take it that way. But it's not as long as it would be overused.
Right.
Not as long, even me say, well, I don't want to drive all the way over there to that meeting, I'll just do it remotely. No, I think we need to be here whenever
I agree.
possible.
You can only do it in case of a state of emergency.
Right.
It says during a state of emergency.
That's the only time you could use it.
Yep. Well, okay. Does it need to be, if it's used the way, and I'm discussing what we have before us, if it's just to be used in a way that you described, why does it have to be a state of emergency?
I'd say, at times we'd still be here at our regular meetings,
But what about these other times when a commissioner can't be here, but they could have joined in remotely?
Like a separate policy.
Yeah, we can do a separate policy for that.
Would it be better to make a separate policy for that, or just amend this one?
I'd make a separate policy.
Because this right here is just for emergency, and the other one, regular meetings. So,
The law states that if you have public meetings, if this board meets, then it has to allow the public to attend. Any other meetings that's going to have to be held here for the public to be able to attend at a central location that you hold these meetings in. In this case right here, in a state of emergency, and God forbid, once this is over with, we never have to go through this again. Most of our 99.9% of our state of emergency is going to always be based weather related, most likely. And when that happens, it comes within 24 hours. In 24 hours, it's over. We're handling things, but Brandon, our emergency management director, may issue a state of emergency at that time. And if it's a lot of devastation of trees and things through or tornadoes or whatever, and you can't make it, this is a great way for us to be able to approve some emergency funding or whatever business needs to be taken care of during this disaster that may have took place. But other than that, I would think that you would meet right here, no matter what.
Right. Well, I'm willing to go along with it on that basis, that it be used judiciously.
I would think that your chairman would never even think about
Yes.
utilizing something like that in case it would have to be an emergency to where they would allow the board members to remote in electronically to make a decision on something.
Well, it's not just for current chairman, this would apply to future chairman as well, and we never knew who might end up being chairman. We used to rotate it all along the board, everybody had their turn pretty much, and so you can get some different views regarding the person who might be chairman at any particular time.
Correct.
Couple points. First of all, it would be each individual commissioner's discretion of whether they come to the meeting or not.
That's correct.
Period. I mean, I may have a high-risk person at home that has lung problems, and I don't want to come in here and be around anybody.
Right.
So I stay home. I mean, today I didn't have to come under the situation that we're under, whether you have this or not, because we're in a social distancing environment. Whether you agree with it or not, that's what we're in.
Need to move over some.
So period. It's not up to chairman or the other board members or anybody else. It's each individual commissioner decides if they want to come or not based on the risk, I guess, in their individual situation, right?
Correct.
Second thing is, it talks of what if we had a meeting, and plus the other thing, if we were in New York, we probably wouldn't be allowed to come to the meetings. And if North Carolina all of a sudden gets a cluster of cases around here somewhere, we could be under the same kind of orders they are with no stay-at-home type thing. So it would also cover that. It talks about in here, what if we had a remote meeting with everybody doing it electronically? I understand this to say it would still be televised to the public. So
Yeah.
how do you do that?
Well, we're going to do a little work on that. I talked to emergency management today, and they have one system that they use where they're able to put everybody on one screen and meet together. And this was kind of quick put together today. I'm going to get with IT and see if there's a way to sort of televise that out. It might not be live streaming because it would be sort of a difficult process, but would be uploaded as soon after.
Yeah.
If we could figure out a way to live stream it, it might just be audio live streamed.
Audio
until we
would
get
be
the
probably
video
satisfy
with it.
everybody.
'Cause I could really have you all dial in on one conference call and live stream that audio, and then we could eventually, if we had to get video system, something like that, but just any way to get it out there as fast as possible.
I would think the public would be okay with audio. Doesn't have to see our mugs every time we get together. So.
In fairness to the situation, are you through, sir?
No, I'm not. I'm ready to make a motion to approve this,
Well,
whatever.
follow up, which I'm allowed, I think.
Go ahead, it's all right.
In fairness to the situation, I don't think many of the decisions we'd make on an emergency basis to deal with emergency situations would be very controversial anyway. Most of those meetings and decisions would be in dealing with situations that would not create controversy.
Absolutely. It would be based on the situation at hand.
Commissioner Mendenhall, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I would be fine with the audio conferencing method. That is what we're using for SciTech right now, phone conferencing calls. We're not meeting as a board of trustees right now. We have a number to call in, and they'll give you a code, and you just punch the code in, and everybody can hear everybody else's comments. So I'd certainly be fine with that.
Sounds good. And I believe Commissioner Morris has made a motion on it.
I'll
It's
second,
about to.
Motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second that motion.
Any more comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Move on now to our last one, the county building policies during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request that we can, that you allow your government center here to conduct its business by phone, and allow the government center to be closed to the public only, and allow the individuals to call in and talk to folks that needs to have business handled. If there is anything that needs to be arranged in person, then at that time they could call here and say, I've got to handle this in person because I've got to give you a set of plans. For instance, like if it was something in planning and zoning, I've got a set of plans I need to deliver, then we would make arrangements to meet them, and they wouldn't have to be exposed to anyone in here or anyone exposed in the outside. So this would be something that I think that if you are taking further measures in making sure we protect our workforce and the public, then this would be one step that I would like for you to consider. And I also would love to hear any suggestions that this board may have that would add any kind of additional suggestions to handling this time that we're in, as far as the government center here being closed to the public.
I know I spoke with Commissioner Berger over in Rockingham County, and it sounds like they got a tent set up outside. Yep, there you go. Got a picture of there. And they are coming up.
They've got two tents.
Yeah, asking people what their needs are before, and then like, if it's something needs to go inside, they'll call that department for the person who even goes in, just to kind of give them the heads up. That's what's going on that they're doing right now. And it seems like they're having pretty good success with it. So
Yeah.
things are still operating pretty good, and it's keeping a lot of the public out away from the employees.
It could be something that we absolutely do what is best here for the time being until hopefully this will pass, and I pray that it will. And get back to some normalcy in our lives.
I see Rockingham doesn't have any cases either.
No, they don't. Commissioner Morris, I seen you raise your hand.
I looked at all three counties beside of us here, also Surrey and Rockingham and Caswell. I'll pass that down for you guys to look at. Yeah, I got that one. Just pass that one on down, too. I would say just do some policy. Rockingham's looks good to me, but others, Caswell's does too, and Surrey's a little bit less, but do something similar to what they're doing. They're also looking at alternate work schedules too, so I would empower the department heads to do alternate work schedules and get them approved by county manager if they need to do that for staggered shifts or whatever they need to do to keep people at distance from other people.
I believe that's what Rockingham's doing or they talk about doing staggered shifts in the department. So it sounds like they've had pretty good success with it, no problems.
I think just, the department head knows what they have to do to get their job done, and I would just tell them, let them figure out how they do it. It best protects their folks, and with alternate work schedules or whatever else they need to do that's within reason. What they get paid for, make big money for, making those kind of decisions, right, Sheriff? That's all I have.
I'm hoping within another week or two, we'll see it start dying out anyway. So, Commissioner Walker, I know you said you was about to say something.
Well, Commissioner Mendenhall might have something. I went first last time. He might want to.
He's still reading.
Okay. You ready, Commissioner Mendenhall, or do you want to wait on that?
I think these counties around us, as you said, even though they do not have any positive cases yet, we don't, Rockingham, Surrey. However, in my opinion, what they're trying to do is to keep it at no cases, and that's being proactive and doing this, and I think in the end that these counties around us are like us when this is all over with, that in the end they can say, hey, you know what? We didn't have one single case of this, not one case. Whereas I think some of the counties are not quite as enforcing the policies as much maybe as we are, or some of these other counties around us. And you're seeing a few of those counties begin to increase in numbers. So I think they're just trying to be proactive and not reactive. And as you can see, Rockingham and Caswell, they're side by side, and they usually go along with each other. I know when we have our meetings, it's us, Rockingham, Caswell, and a lot of times policies that Rockingham adopts, Caswell will adopt soon after. I just see a lot of similarities between those two counties. Mr. Chairman, that's about all I have. I'll pass it back to you, and you can go to Commissioner Walker or
Okay.
Commissioner Morris.
Commissioner Walker, did you?
Thank you, sir. I want to see as much as possible what's best to the greatest extent for all involved. Our citizens, our county employees, business owners. This thing is so deep and so broad at this time as far as businesses it's affecting. There's folks whose livelihood is destroyed. It'll take some years to recover from it. I heard a lady say earlier today, it's going to take them years to recover already from what's being caused. I have a question for our sheriff, if I may, please.
Yes, sir.
If he's willing to answer a question. What effect, or will this affect your department, or what effect will it have if a policy like being described is put into place?
Operate as normal. Regardless of what policy put in place, we still have obligation to the citizens here of Stokes County. So our operation with the sheriff's office will stay as is. However, I did do an alternative protection plan for the staff to lessen their exposure to the general public. And I've done a test run with it this week. It worked out real well. So I do have a plan in place if it gets to the point where we need to reduce the time they expose to the public. But as far as working with the public, we've got to continue our operation. Also, right now, the court systems
I was going to ask you about that.
are shut down to the general public. However, there is constitutional liabilities that the courts have. And the judges are here Monday through Friday dealing with the obligations, that's mandated obligations they have to fulfill with the courts, such as first appearance, 7-day hearings, domestic violence hearings, to make sure that inmates in jail, some of their constitutional rights are not being infringed on, and the obligations are being met as far as with their court cases. So I spoke with Judge Puckett and she expressed her feelings that the courts would have to remain open Monday through Friday from, I think it was 10 to 1, and that's what they've been operating on since all this came up. And Judge Sullivan, I spoke with him as well, and he concurs that the courts will still have to be operating in order for them to meet their mandated obligations with the courts.
When you say closed to the general public, how are they operating as far as people coming to defend themselves with a traffic violation or something?
Those cases are not prudent, so they pushed out.
Okay, so they just postponed them, just pushed them out.
They have been pushed out. However, the mandated case, when you serve with a 50B order, you've got so many days to respond to it, and they have to hear these cases. When the SS comes in and takes somebody's child, there's a 7-day hearing that has to be done within that 7 days. So those cases are still got to be heard. When you have a defendant that's been arrested, he has a right for first appearance before a judge on bond. So those cases have to be met. So they are still doing those. And there is some cases that's emergency type cases that they're having to hear,
Right.
that they're dealing with
So they're operating on a limited basis.
on a limited basis to make sure they meet the mandated criteria.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Chairman, another question is, when, suppose this goes into place, when and how would it be lifted?
This will be something we just
No
have
way
to,
to know what end to
yeah.
do it.
whenever it
What,
starts.
there's gotta be, to me, if there's, something that causes it to be, implemented, then there's got to be certain conditions that would say it's not needed anymore.
The health board is having a reevaluating on April 1st, is that correct? And
31st, like before April 1st.
before April 1st, okay. So I guess it'll be kind of on their recommendation also, if they see things is getting better and they start lifting some of the restrictions, maybe we can start looking at that as well.
So should we implement, the board vote to implement this procedure or this process? Are we going to set a time that we're going to look at it and see if it still needs to remain in place or not?
Of all the counties that have done procedures like this as far as closing to the public, they're only doing effective dates. Now, the state, the counties and the cities that are doing the stay in place or those kind of orders, they're putting an end date on those, but I'm sure they'll reevaluate them. But as far as the buildings to the public, those are just having effective dates that I've seen so far. I've not seen anybody putting nobody really knows from day to day. Seems to be escalating, but if it started to go back down, as he was saying, the Board of Health meets again to kind of reevaluate the situation in a few days to know, but it's hard to put a concrete date on something like this. And of course, everybody is still going to, within reason, every building will still be staffed. I mean, I'll be here working, Jake will be here working, doing normal day's business with anybody that needs help with something. People are not gonna not be getting the services they need. It'll just limit everybody's interaction a little bit with less chance to spread the virus.
I think I just leave it in effect until we undo it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'll probably know a
Do I have
time,
an emergency meeting to undo it?
Might,
might fall into us,
I
you
can
know.
do a regular one.
Regular meeting's not till April 14th.
Hopefully we can lift it before then.
Well, this is, if y'all get a chance to read this information that Brandon forwarded, it's
Yeah, I
beginning
seen
to
your
have
email
a positive
today.
tone to it.
Yeah.
You know, mild, most people recover, no issues. If you have it, don't even bother to go to the doctor, just call your doctor, see what he thinks if you need to come. No testing. So there's a real shift in how this is being looked at.
I think the main reason for the no testing is because it's now taking 7 days to get test results back. And they're just telling people now, if you get them symptoms, kind of stay home unless you have respiratory problems or need to be hospitalized, just kind of
Or
quarantine.
need to be
yourself.
self-quarantined, need to be kept away.
I think that's the main reason for the no testing.
Yep, but the general feeling that I had or have in reading this information is the worst may not be over, but there's light at the end of the tunnel now. It's beginning to look a lot more positive than we were thinking things might be at this phase of it. But one of the most encouraging things of all is the symptoms are, quote, mild, about like a bad cold or plus a little.
For most.
Unless you have serious complications. And I wouldn't want my wife to have it, who has borderline COPD, because she's in that category that it could be a lot more serious. So,
There was also a woman, well, they said she was in her mid-40s, the guy's wife that was at the
30s.
in her 30s, and she's now on life support.
and I've heard about that. It's in Forsyth County, I believe.
Yes.
But anyway, let me kind of regroup here. What you were showing me, Commissioner Morris, says that Rockingham, you have the same information that Shannon passed out. Rockingham has taken steps. And they have closed their services to the public, or I didn't have a chance to.
They do it by appointment, I think, is what,
Okay, so they do it by appointment. Yadkin you referenced. And
they're all
Surrey.
basically doing it by appointment if they have to, but they're doing email or phone if they don't have to do an appointment, if it doesn't have to be in person.
Right. So how would what we're discussing here compare to our three neighboring counties?
It's going to be about the same.
And to be honest, I've been talking to a lot of our department heads. Our public is doing a really good job of not coming out anyway. I mean, there were 10 total people in DSS the other day, 8 of which stayed contained in a lobby. So people are really taking the caution, they're being proactive and listening to what people are asking them to do. So this is just a little extra step, but they're doing a great job already of following the guidelines, and which is probably why we still are free of a case at this point.
We probably need to publish something like this and put on our
Yeah,
website.
for sure.
Just why don't you guys just use these 3 and come up with one that fits with
Yeah,
having appointments, and we'll
yeah,
be in effect until further notice, till the board takes further action.
yeah.
I'm willing to go along with this. I can't believe I'm hearing myself say this, because I really want to see things. I want to see this cloud, this shadow we're under, all this fear,
Yeah,
this
we all do,
paranoia be diminished. But one thing that I would like is if we do implement this procedure and we start getting complaints, I'd like to know how many and what they are.
And I hope not, which I mean, I've already seen some complaints on some things, but I don't think too many is really going to complain at this time until we start seeing a little bit more light coming up on it.
But I really, if the staff is getting complaints, or everybody reads Rick's blog and they want to complain to him, any source out there, I'd like to know what the complaints are and how many they are. Because if it works, if people do like we think they will, appointments, whatever, some other reasonable measures, it won't be that big a deal. But if we're inconveniencing a certain segment, I don't know who they might be, of our population. What about DSS and all I just finished a board meeting over there. And they were talking about procedures, but there's still folks who need to come in over there, for example. And so if there's any part of the county's operation that we're hitting harder than it needs to be hit with this, I'd like to know about it as soon as possible.
Brandon, have you heard anything since you've shut the doors on yours? I mean, complaints, I've seen some compliments on Facebook, but have you had any complaints?
We have not had any complaints yet. The biggest thing with our office is recording deeds and legal documents. And most of the attorneys are already electronically recording documents. And a lot of the local attorneys who have not gone to that practice have now decided to do that. All but about 2 attorneys that we deal with regularly have begun electronically recording. We've gotten those submitted agreements from them this week and last week. It's going to help contain the spread, and there hasn't been really any complaints, just questions. If you have a question, if you need to come in the office, if you have a special situation, special circumstance, give us a call. We'll work with you the best we can. I'm letting maybe one person in the office at a time to do some title work or to check our judgment computer by appointment as necessary. Also, we've seen an uptick in marriages. I think everyone's afraid we're going to close and they can't get married. We issued 4 licenses Monday. We had 2 Tuesday. We did 1 today. That's very busy for us. We don't do a lot of marriages as it is. But that season's upon us now. Spring, summer, it's coming up, and they're trying to get those marriages in. But a lot of venues, we've also gotten calls, a lot of venues are closing, and so the weddings are going to have to be postponed, and those licenses are only good for 60 days. Wake County just released, I got the email right before we closed today, that they're doing like Skype or whatever, remote, because the statute for marriages, you have to appear before the register of deeds to get your license. And they're getting around that through video conferencing and stuff. And I'm not sure how maybe they're doing electronic signatures on that. We don't have that capability, so we're going to do by appointments only. As far as notary commissions, the same thing. Anytime anyone needs to come in the office, we're going to do by appointment. We're handling anything that comes in the office with gloves, any UPS deliveries, FedEx, U.S. mail, everything we get, we're handling with gloves. Just using a lot of common sense, but no complaints, just a lot of questions. And I'd say other offices, probably a third of the register of deeds offices across the state are doing the same, not the same, but similar practices.
Thank you. I do want to make one comment, and the reason I know about this is I have 2 wedding invitations on my bar at home that I received this week, and I was looking at the dates on them, and but I want to say this: when this first started, and I think everybody will agree with this, when this first came about, and people started reacting, we were dealing with the unknown. We really didn't know what we had on our hands. And I think as you have, if you have watched on a daily basis like I have, the president or the governor of North Carolina, either one, and as they go over these items, they are gaining more and more data every day. And as you get more information, you can begin to grasp what you can look for in the future. And they're seeing where South Korea is. They're seeing what's happened to Italy and Spain. And then they're looking at the United States and South Korea. The percentage on the death rate compared to the number of cases was 1.4% for South Korea, and it was 1.5% for the U.S. We were the second lowest in the world.
So Germany is
Yeah.
practically nothing.
Right.
Germany is 1/40th of Italy.
Right.
1/40th.
They have only one major problem. Their Angela Merkel does have it. And if you
All
know,
that counts as one person.
and I know, and also Prince Charles has it now.
Someone in the royal family.
Yeah, the royal family. So that just goes to show you that anybody can get it. It doesn't. But at the same time, when we first started this out, we didn't know if it was going to be comparable to SARS or some of the other things we dealt with. But as they've gained, if y'all listen to these doctors, I'm going to tell you, the United States of America has some of the most unbelievable scientists and doctors, and they can find, they're already trying vaccines and different types of medications to see if they can put a stop, and they're already making huge advances. And I do see the positive end that you're talking about.
It's coming.
I do see that coming. However, I think until we get it locked down good, I don't want endanger our employees. Is I guess what I would say, Mr. Chairman, is if Rockingham County can do this successfully, you know, I'm very competitive. If they can do it successfully, by George, we can do it successfully. You know, that's just my feeling. You can call the sheriff, Mike. I think you know him well, and you can call Mr. Berger. If Rockingham County can do it, Stokes County can do it. That's the way I look at it. And I saw Travis Reed, superintendent in Surrey County, the other day. He was talking about remote learning, and feels the same way with our school system. If Surrey County can do something, our school system can do it. And I just feel very that we're making progress. And I still go back to the fact that, as we brought up earlier, there's about 5 counties surrounding us that doesn't have any cases. But guess what? How many cases does Stokes County have?
0.
0. We have none. So we're doing something right. We're doing something right. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir.
Good board.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Good. What about our departments like the health department?
Yeah, they have pretty much own Guidelines are going by.
They're already doing a lot of things by drive-through appointments, like they're handling their WIC appointments, things like that are all through drive-through and appointments. They've already canceled all of their non-emergency visits, things, they're handling that through routine things as far as like medication refills are being updated over the phone for right now, which they're allowed to do. So they're not really seeing anybody, any regular foot traffic through there that's not coming in, and they're doing all their testing outside too.
So the health board sets their protocol or procedure.
Yes. Which they have all these already in place.
Mr. Moore, do you have anything to add?
No, I guess we're just gonna have our guys do a policy like this and put it up. Approve it, county manager approve it.
We will send it out to the board electronically, y'all view it. Y'all's.
We don't need to approve it, we'd have to meet to do that. I'd rather you approve it.
As long as we kind of know clear, and I think we have a pretty clear picture that you're okay with using some similar policies to what Rockingham's doing and all those, and a start date, we can't really do an end date at this point, just until we come back together, but I figure it'll probably take at least till Monday to get everything in place, to get everybody's thoughts, and if we do something like Rockingham and set the tents up, make some signage, get some of that stuff in place, get something on the website, get the policy, so Monday might be a good day to shoot for as far as making it start that day.
Y'all have some temps.
We'll get with Brandon.
I've had a few people today say they had some, and I think we've got some, yeah.
And if I may, one thing I'll be looking for as we put together a procedure is that it be as user-friendly or public-friendly as it possibly can be under these circumstances. That we don't just stack it one-sided and inconvenience our public just for our convenience, for example. I want it to be as much in favor of our users as we can possibly make it at this time.
It's almost like drive-through assistance. I think they won't really mind. If they have something to do, they'll come in, somebody will take care of them there, get them to the right place, get their information in for them, so.
And if you realize there's a glitch in it, I would hope that adjustments could be made to deal with it in a positive way.
All right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Rick, you gonna?
Do we need a
Oh, yeah.
motion on the, on item 3, or are we just in consensus with that? Say go ahead.
That was to move forward with it.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
All right. What did we not do with what we were just talking about?
And I asked about that.
Yeah.
And
Do we need to vote on that to let you guys put something
You
together?
want- I mean,
Do
if
you want a
if
motion
If you
on
want
that?
to just to cover ourselves, do you want me to ask Ty and make sure that you?
No, I think
I
let's
think you can make a motion
go ahead and
to
make a
approve
motion
putting
on it.
together a policy to close to the public during this epidemic, and
to give our
Start date
staff,
of
our
Monday.
manager in particular, the authority to implement a policy that he feels like is fair to the employees and fair to the public.
and approved to close to the public. Yeah.
I think you just made a motion on
I
it.
think you made a
Yeah,
motion.
I can go with that.
Yeah, I'll
And
have to-
also, far as, what I hope we're saying is that it will be monitored for adjustment if necessary, once the policy
In
is
case we
implemented.
need to reassess.
Right.
All right, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion?
We just did that with a
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. A motion for adjournment.
Yeah.
Why should you not be here today? You had got some fever in you.
Any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Please sign before you leave.
Yeah, this,